might not suck this year.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
Me.
Presented by Bigelow Tea, Jackson Lumber, Blue Moonlight, Wellesley Testosterone, FindMassMoney.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf. On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
But I'm not like hardcore watching it because there's not a lot of unique matchups anymore. Like back in my day when I grew up and I saw Roger Clemens versus Andre Dawson, like it was a happening. It was my guy against a former National League MVP. So like I'll start it and I'll kind of see where the game goes.
Yeah,
you?
That's kind of where I'm at. I do not hate the All-Star game. It's a baseball game. That's it. It's a Tuesday night. It's a baseball game. It's still the best All-Star game in sports because it's the only one where the game is.
This time it counts.
I don't need that. I don't need it gimmicked up. I just want to tune in and watch a baseball game. And it's a baseball game. We're not changing the rules. Although tonight they do have the automatic ball strike system, which I think is compelling. I'm interested to see that. Skubal starts. Skeen starts. I can get into it.
The kid from the Brewers is pitching tonight.
Mike Sky, 5 starts, 5 appearances in the big leagues. He's an all-star. That's the problem with it now, is there are enough opt-outs that it's not really the all-star game anymore. Give me the starting pitchers against the best 3 hitters from the American League or National League, and I can get into it. But yeah, I'm probably not watching the whole
That
game.
would help the home run derby, by the way, if you had Ohtani in addition to some other big, heavy home run hitters.
Yeah, for the 4 best home run hitters in baseball. Let me see Ohtani. Let me see Aaron Judge. Cal Raleigh's fine. That's not a bad home run derby winner because, I mean, he leads baseball in home runs. Just the big fat ass who goes up there and hit home runs. I could get into that. I don't think you need to do too much to fix this week because it's never going to be what it once was. But here we are.
And also, Matt, I'm with Beetle on this. He said that on the award-winning Zolak and Bertrand program today, that if you win the title, no matter what kind of season you're having the next year, you have the right to defend your championship.
In on that. Sure. Why not? So it's All-Star night. We can talk All-Star game with you at 617-779-0985. It is the baseball hour. No Maz. He's heading home from the Dick's House of Sport after the Caitlin Clark broadcast today. We will have Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever on these airwaves tonight, 8 o'clock. Brendan Glasheen on the call, radio-specific broadcast, so certainly looking forward to that. But what's happening with the Red Sox moving forward? And we approach the trading deadline, 2 weeks from now at this point in baseball, with the Red Sox entering the All-Star break, the hottest team in baseball, 8 games above 500, 53-45. Undeniably, they will be buying at the deadline. They made it clear before they went on this 10-game winning streak that they'd be buying at the deadline. I certainly anticipate that they'll be buying even more after this 10-game winning streak. How could they not? And if they don't, you can certainly hold them accountable for that. The news for the Red Sox over the course of the next week, I think, is going to center around discussion about Joe Ryan. Twins right-handed pitcher Joe Ryan, who to me is the number 1 target for the Red Sox at the deadline. There has been some reporting on this in recent weeks, and now we're starting to get people talking about it. Craig Breslow alluded to the fact yesterday that maybe some conversations happened with the Twins. He did not specifically mention the Twins, but he mentioned a trade that was discussed for 4 or 5 days, and then it appeared that the other side wasn't as interested as Breslow initially anticipated. And he was complaining about the fact that he spent 4 or 5 days working on a trade when the other side wasn't quite there yet. We now have the Twins side of things on this, and we now have discussion from the Twins about Joe Ryan specifically. Twins president of baseball operations, Derek Falvey, was on John Heyman's podcast, and he was asked about Joe Ryan. I think this is important. Give this a listen.
You made a great trade to get Ryan. He's an analytics darling. He's been great. I know you've got some big stars on that team. Do you listen on Joe Ryan if somebody calls?
Our job is to listen to everything. The goal is to make the Minnesota Twins better, right? And ultimately, whether that means short-term, long-term, depends on where you are sometimes at the deadline. So it's never about how we feel about them. We love every player we have in the clubhouse. We love every guy we've added, whether it's the guys we added just this year or guys we've had for a long time. But rumors we can't control and conversations we have to have have, many times those conversations about some of the players you're talking about, even if you don't agree that that's the player you're going to trade, it may spill off into a subsequent conversation that could really help you in a different way. So I think we need to stay open to creativity, think about all the players that are on our roster, and then try and make the best decisions we can going into the deadline to try and put ourselves in the best spot, whether it's for this year, but certainly for this year and beyond.
It's a word salad. He doesn't say anything, which is the story on that. Never in there did Derek Falvey say, we are not trading Joe Ryan. So that's something important to keep an eye on. That sounds to me like a general manager, like an executive who is open to the idea of trading anybody, and he should be open to the idea of trading anybody. The Twins are 2 games below 500. They're 4 back of the Mariners for the final wild card spot. They also have 3 teams to jump. So the Twins right now are in 10th place in the American League. The division is completely, they're 12 games behind Detroit in the division. So they're not going anywhere there. This is a team that over the course of the next few weeks should, I would think, decide that they are going to sell. It's interesting. The Red Sox play the Twins right before the deadline, July 28th through July 30th.
In Minnesota, no less.
It's where the Nomar deal went down.
It is.
Remember that? Red Sox were in Minnesota because Minkiewicz was on the Twins. How many teams were involved in that trade? So it was the Twins, it was the Cubs, it was the Expos, and the Red Sox, right? It was a 4-team trade. So Minkiewicz went from one side, from one dugout to the other.
There's video of Nesson showing Minkiewicz grabbing his gear and walking across the hallway in the background of a Nomar Garcia paramedia scrum, I believe.
I don't want to wait until the Red Sox are in Minnesota to have Joe Ryan have a short commute. I want them to get it done, and I want them to get it done in short order. The Red Sox have a tough stretch coming up over the course of the next 9 games against the Cubs, the Phillies, and the Dodgers. There is no reason to mess around. There's no reason to wait until the last minute. These 2 weeks matter. These 2 weeks could be the difference between making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. And I think as presently constructed right now, and given the state of competition in the American League, the Red Sox are a playoff team. You add Joe Ryan, the Red Sox are a pennant contender. That's the difference. Number 2 starter is the most important target for the Red Sox at this deadline. It is number 2 starter or bust. But I did mention we had reporting on that tonight, or information. Is that a fairer way to describe this, Jimmy Stewart?
I like to call myself a gossip monger.
Okay, so a gossip monger, Jimmy Stewart, what are you hearing about the Twins' willingness to trade Joe Ryan?
I'm of the belief that they are not interested right now in trading Joe Ryan. I'm of the belief that there was a bigger deal involved where the Red Sox would take a bad contract and it was offered to the Red Sox, and the Red Sox were all for going for that deal that involved Joe Ryan and a bigger package with a potentially bad contract, and the Twins then backed out of it.
So does that speak to the Red Sox feeling they had a deal done, going back to Craig Breslow's comments a few days ago about spending 4 or 5 days on something, thinking you're making progress, and then having that team decide that they're not as interested?
Absolutely, 100%, I believe that.
Okay, so that makes sense to me, Jimmy.
But there's a bigger point here, is that if that's true, if what I believe to be true is that the Red Sox are willing to take on a bad contract,
yes,
for a greater value and a greater value of impact, even if maybe the bad contract doesn't fit with what they need. They see the greater good in getting Joe Ryan to make an impact, and it comes along with a bad contract.
So work with me on this here, Jimmy. So we had heard a few days ago that maybe Peyton Tolley was the target the Minnesota wanted for Joe Ryan. Craig Breslow balked at that. He's their number 1 prospect right now. He's their number 1 pitching prospect. He didn't want to trade him for Joe Ryan. So it sounds like the Red Sox approach was, hey, you know what? Let's take on a contract, which is exactly what the Red Sox should be doing. Jimmy, I believe your reporting. I believe your information. Your gossip mongering. If that's the case, bravo to the Boston Red Sox. This is exactly how they should be approaching it. And that defends them and absolves them from some of the Devers stuff. Because if you move on from Rafael Devers and save the money, but then say we're going to reallocate that money elsewhere, essentially what you could do is you could trade Devers basically for Joe Ryan. If I feel completely different about the Rafael Devers deal if you're getting a pitcher of Joe Ryan's quality because you're taking on a bad contract in return. And we could take a look at the Minnesota Twins roster and maybe figure out who that might be, but It doesn't matter who that player is. If you're willing to take on a contract to get the starting pitcher that you need, that is exactly how the Boston Red Sox should be doing business. That's encouraging. I like hearing that. And it sounds like the Minnesota Twins were the reason that deal did not happen. The question is, do they change their opinion in the next few weeks? Because they should change their opinion. This is the problem with the third wild card in baseball, is everybody has the idea in some way that, oh, well, we're still in it. We're still in it. You're in 10th place in the American League. You're 4 games back. You're not still in it. Sometimes you have to look at this. And I feel like we've done this every year because the Red Sox have been a game or 2 out. Oh, they're a game or 2 out. They're still in contention. Oh, they're a game or 2 out, but there are 3 teams ahead of them. The Red Sox right now are in 5th place in the American League. The Twins are in 10th. One should be a buyer, one should be a seller. That deal should get done. We just need to hope that the Twins decide over the course of the next 2 weeks that they are not actually in this, because I'm going to tell you right now, they're not actually in this, but they're not willing to admit it just yet.
And we also need to hope that this Red Sox gauntlet of Chicago, Philadelphia, and the Dodgers is at the least a 500 record, if that's possible, if the games add up that way, a plus or minus 500 record, so that they don't get cold feet because they go 3-6, 3-7. That they're not buyers anymore.
So here's the good news, Jimmy. I don't think they're going to get cold feet, because I think Breslow has something to prove coming off of the Devers trade. I think Sam Kennedy has something to prove coming off of the Devers trade. I was concerned about that 2 weeks ago because I felt that, well, are you going to do something reckless for a team that doesn't deserve it? And the 10-game winning streak proves to me, and I think it proves to Red Sox fans, that this team does deserve that type of investment. You know, the Red Sox have a history of compounding mistakes with mistakes. They make one move, and then they go completely the other way when they shouldn't in that moment. What this 10-game winning streak proves to you is that the Red Sox are just as competitive as anybody else in the American League without even adding a bona fide number 2 starter. If you have Garrett Crochet, number 2 starter X, let's use Joe Ryan as an example here. If you have Crochet, Joe Ryan, Lucas Giolito, and Brian Bayo, is that a playoff team?
Yes.
Is that a pennant-winning team?
Yes.
That's a pennant-contending team, I'll put it to you that way, based on the competition in the American League. Tell me right now that the Blue Jays are significantly better than the Red Sox if the Red Sox go out and get Joe Ryan.
Significantly, no.
Definitely not. Tell me the Yankees are significantly better than the Red Sox if the Red Sox go out and get a pitcher of Joe Ryan's quality.
They're not.
They aren't. The Red Sox, too, have been good against good teams. They're 4 games above 500 against teams with a 500 or greater record. The Yankees, 25-28. Look around you. The competition isn't what it's cracked out to be. And if you add somebody of Ryan's quality, now we're cooking. That is how we should judge the Red Sox over the course of the next 2 weeks. It is not going to be just good enough to just buy. You need to buy significantly. And somebody like Joe Ryan represents that.
I also do have an appreciation that Breslow is on the record saying he spent 4 or 5 days talking to a team, the Twins, and being aggressive when it's the early part of July.
Yes.
He's not waiting for the deadline to make a move. This is a move. This is something that Dave Dombrowski got credit for, which was going out, seeing what they needed, and setting the market. Trading Anderson Espinoza for Drew Pomeranz. Trading for Steve Pearce. Going through all those different moves so that when you got to the deadline, it's like, oh, we kind of need a second baseman, so we'll just add Ian Kinsler just in case.
Yeah. The problem is the Twins haven't figured it out just yet.
Exactly. And my fear is that if the Twins aren't ready to make a deal, or if another team isn't ready to make a deal, then we're going to get to 10 minutes before the deadline, and Breslow's going to go, crap, I actually have to go get Charlie Morton.
So you need to set a fake deadline. You need to hold the Twins' feet to the fire on this.
In the same way that the Giants did that to you on Rafael Devers.
Yeah, Derek, we're not waiting. We're not waiting until the deadline. We've got 9 games coming up against the Cubs, the Phillies, and the Dodgers. We got to make a move here. I said this yesterday, Jimmy. even if it's not the Joe Ryan type move, if there is a secondary move that can be made over the course of the All-Star break just to inject some form of life into this team coming out of the break, because the break is happening at the worst possible time for the Red Sox. They have all the momentum in the world. They're playing their best baseball in 4 years, maybe their best baseball in 7 years, and now all of a sudden you don't play for 4 days. Like that given the way the Red Sox approach things, I'm a little concerned about the Red Sox coming out of the All-Star break. If you add somebody over the break, it creates some type of artificial momentum. Just to say, you know what, we believe in you, and we're going to start our adding right here, even if the Twins aren't ready to make a deal. But make it, let's be honest, it's very clear. The Minnesota Twins need to get their act in gear, and they need to figure out that they're not competing. So I am the world's biggest, Colorado Rockies fan because the Twins are playing the Rockies this weekend. So after they sweep the Rockies, they'll be above 500, and they'll think they're contenders again. It's the waiting game. Here we are. Trade deadline 2 weeks away. All-Star game tonight. Your thoughts. I see on the line. We'll take care of you. 617-779-0985. Also, later on in the program, I do want to talk about why this year's team, which has the same number of wins as last year's team, is in a much better position than the 2024 Red Sox. We'll get into all of that. It's McCarthy in for Maz on the Baseball Hour.
Baseball Hour on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Garrett Crochet 9-4, 2.39 ERA. In there for strike three. Down he goes. Back-to-back sweepers for the strikeouts. Fastball gets by him at 98. He strikes out.
Like Alex Bregman and doing an amazing job as the ace of the Red Sox.
Just struck out Caballero on 3 pitches. Swing and a miss. 97 to put him away. Once again they go in order. Fastball 99. Something extra for the All-Star. And there it is. In there for strike three. 98. Pours in the heater. He strikes out 2 more here in the 7th. Swing and a miss to put him away with that nasty sweeper. In there, strike three. Right on the edge. Number 9. Lined into right. Abreu there. Ball game. Red Sox win it. 9 in a row. Exactly 100 pitches. For the All-Star left-hander, he goes all the way. The first time in his career, he tosses a complete game.
Shea walking in last night on the red carpet, and who was right behind him in uniform? Joe Ryan.
I'm of the belief that Joe Ryan wants to be a member of the Boston Red Sox.
You've said this before, right? You're on the record and saying
I am on the record with it. That's what I believe.
And once again, for folks who are just joining, could you rehash, I guess, you don't want to call it reporting, you want to call it gossip that you've heard?
I'm into the gossip game.
Yep.
Gossip game is high. I would tell you that I'm of the belief that the Red Sox would take a bad contract back if it got them a high-impact player and it allowed them to give up a lesser prospect.
And I know you don't know the name because, trust me, I've asked you. I can only speculate on that name. That's Correa. I mean, if the Twins are looking for somebody to take on a bad contract, it's Carlos Correa. So I'd be all into that. I don't care who the name is, though. The Red Sox should be taking on bad contracts to give up less in return. They should be using their financial might. And if they use their financial might to improve this team at the trading deadline, it justifies their actions in trading Rafael Devers. Because they traded Devers because of the money. The byproduct of it is it helps the culture of the team. But unless you go out and then take that money on again in another way, you can't justify truly in the end trading Rafael Devers. Because they didn't do it for the culture things, they did it for the money things. But if they turn around and spend that money and absorb money elsewhere, all of a sudden, it makes a hell of a lot more sense.
It's only money. I mean, it's not like they're having problems selling tickets now at Fenway Park or selling monster dogs or merchandise or anything like that.
And that's why I'm worried that they might not trade Duran, even though he's the guy. He's the guy that should go. He's the guy that has to go. He is not a part of the team's future. He will get you something in return because he's a good player. He's not a great player, but he's a good player. Under team control for the next 3 years. Like, if you think you're getting Joe Ryan and not having to give up something, you're crazy. Joe Ryan's an all-star pitcher. He's 29. He's under team control for the next 2.5 years, I believe. You know, those guys don't grow on trees, and they cost something. You have to give up something to get something. Jarren Duran is something. I'm willing to give him up if I'm getting a starting pitcher in return. But if you're willing to take on money, as Jimmy has suggested, then you might have to give up a little bit less. Do you not have to then give up Peyton Tolley, your top pitching prospect, to get Joe Ryan? Can you give up Kyle Harrison, who you got for Rafael Devers instead, if you're willing to take on that money? That very important detail that I think is going to guide our discussions for the next few weeks on this. I hope you're right about that, Jimmy. I hope the Red Sox are willing to take on that money.
Same.
And I hope the Minnesota Twins get their act in gear and realize that they're not competing for anything this year, and they should take that deal. 617-779-0985. Let's go to Dean in Shrewsbury to lead us off tonight on the Baseball Hour. McCarthy in for Maz. Hey, Dean.
Hey, I agree that it's a good thing that the Red Sox sound like they're willing to take on the contract, but I wouldn't have that hold up giving up the prospect if the prospect, this Peyton Toll, if the prospect is really what the Twins want instead of giving up the contract. So I hope the Red Sox don't use that as an excuse saying we tried to take the contract, we weren't willing to take the prospect, that's why we didn't get him. And Duran is definitely the guy to send out.
Yeah, Dean, I think you're totally right about that. I would trade Peyton Tolley for Joe Ryan. I would trade Peyton Tolley if I'm getting a number 2 pitcher in return who has team control. I'm not trading him for a rental. I'm not doing that. But if you're talking about getting a guy who's going to slide in behind Garrett Crochet this year and next year, if you're getting a guy that you hope Peyton Tolley turns into, I mean, why? It's the old Family Guy mystery box, right? You hope that Peyton Tolley could be something someday. You can have Joe Ryan, or you can trade Peyton Tolley. You don't know who Peyton Tolley might be. Someday he might even be Joe Ryan. Give me the known commodity so long as I have a level of commitment from that known commodity and I've got him under team control. Then I will trade my number one pitching prospect. And those guys are hard to come by. The Joe Ryans of the world are hard to come by. That's why you have to give up something to get something.
I would also add this, Matt. Remember, and we've talked about how the original Mookie Betts trade was a 3-team trade. Mm-hmm. It was the Dodgers, the Twins, and the Red Sox. And it was for a pitching prospect that there were questionable medicals on. So find a third team that the Twins like their prospects, send something there that can be redirected to Minnesota.
Yeah. What I'm not totally convinced about with this Ryan discussion, Jimmy, and I don't know if you have any information on this, is I'm not 100% sure why the Twins would want Duran. Like, it makes sense, sort of, because he's under team control, but for a team that I think is looking to maybe rebuild, I feel like they'd prioritize prospects over Duran.
Yeah, but they still need to put on a Major League Baseball team, and maybe they have an outfielder who's, I don't know the Twins roster, but maybe they have an outfielder whose contract is up, or they know in their back pocket they have another deal for. But Duran fits with that ballpark.
Yeah.
Duran fits in Seattle or Kansas City, one of those big triples ballparks.
Yeah, where you can hit the ball and run a mile. So, I mean, they've got Buxton. You're right. I mean, in that sense, maybe it does make some sense for the Twins. I'd look at the Diamondbacks, too, as a team that would be interested in Jarren Duran because, they've got a bunch of free agents, but they were in the World Series a couple of years ago, so maybe that makes sense. I mean, Minnesota was in the playoffs in 2023, and it's been disappointing for them since. So maybe Duran is, in that sense, sellable to the fan base. Hey, we're trading Joe Ryan, but we're getting a guy who was an all-star last year and a pitching prospect, or we got rid of Carlos Correa's money, and now we can go out and spend some money on somebody else. So maybe that does make a little bit more sense the more you talk to me about that, Jimmy. How about Billy in Bridgewater? Hey, Billy.
Hey, guys. I'm worried about two things. One, there's going to be a bidding war, and Minnesota is waiting till the last minute to see if they can drive up the price. Somebody's going to outbid the Red Sox. And number two is, I'm just worried that what was number two? Yeah, I'm just.
It said your call screener says Red Sox will not do anything at the deadline.
I think they're not going to do anything because of these two reasons. Because Minnesota is going to drive up the price, try to drive up the price. Somebody's going to bid them, and then the GM savvy we're looking for. I'm worried that the GM doesn't have enough savvy to pull this trade deal up.
I'm not concerned about Craig Breslow's baseball acumen. I'm concerned about Craig Breslow's communication skills. That's what I'd be more concerned about. But his baseball moves have been good. They've been really good. I mean, going back to Garrett Crochet, how much credit does Craig Breslow deserve for making that deal happen? Because I guarantee you, Chaim Bloom would not have made that trade. He would not have traded precious Kyle Teal for Garrett Crochet. And you're not in this position today, where Crochet's an all-star, you're 8 games above 500, and you feel good about this team moving forward. The number one difference between last year and this year is Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet greater than last year's all-star Tanner Houck. I'm sorry. I think we can all agree on that. And Breslow made that deal happen. And not only did he make that deal happen because he recognized that he had a surplus of left-handed hitting prospects, he also signed Crochet to an extension, which was not a given and not an automatic, and certainly risky given how little Garrett Crochet has pitched. I mean, the guy's less than 20 innings away from reaching his previous innings high in his career. The guy's basically been a starter for 1 year. It was a projection they made on Crochet. Now, it was a projection that some of us could have made because you saw him pitch in the All-Star game last year and the guy's a stud. I mean, anybody can watch him pitch. You could arrive here from Mars and you would say, that guy's different. Garrett Crochet is a stud. He can pitch. But The Red Sox have been so cautious for years and years and years and years. It actually took a GM who has some level of balls, unlike the previous GM, to make that deal happen. Not only from the trade perspective, but also from the contract perspective. I'm not worried about Craig Breslow being bold. I'm not worried about Craig Breslow being aggressive. I'm not worried about Craig Breslow's baseball acumen. I'm worried about his ability to get a deal done because he doesn't know how to interact with people. And what if the Twins look at the comments that Craig Breslow made yesterday to Cotillo and to Bradford saying, hey, we spent 5 days on this deal and it didn't get done and now we're frustrated. Well, did the deal not get done because the Twins got cold feet, or did the deal not get done because the Twins just didn't want to deal with you and they said, we'll wait this thing out? Because they're tired of dealing with Craig Breslow and his lack of interpersonal skills. An effing stiff, as some in baseball have suggested. Some in the organization have suggested. That would be my concern about Breslow, not whether or not he'll make the right move. Can he actually make the right move? Do people want to deal with the guy? That would be the issue. How about John in the car? Hey, John.
I went to the game Friday night with Rafael, and for the first time in 6 years, I went to Fenway Park to see a baseball game. And unfortunately, they've rooked me back into the boat, McCarthy. So here's what I'm...
Welcome aboard, John. I look forward to playing Near My God to Thee with you in August.
I am not worried about Breslow, the GM, and compared to what we've had up until now. This team is at least showing me that they're willing to let the guy make the calls, make some move, make some plays. Duran is an analytic darling, which, like it or not, is what MLB teams want. They blew it when they didn't sell high last year on him. We've already talked about that. If I can get Duran, and they don't want to get rid of their top prospect, overpay now. Here's where you overpay. Say, okay, take any one of my other two pitching prospects. You just can't have this one, and we'll do the deal now. You got to get who you want now, whether it's positional, pitcher, doesn't matter. Set your market. Pick the guys you need that you think are going to help you win the division, around in the playoffs or more, and a plan of attack instead of a constant state of reaction.
John, I couldn't agree more. They should be willing to overpay just a little bit to get their shopping done early. That was the Dave Dombrowski model, the Dave Dombrowski mold. And what type of message that would send to the team, particularly after the last few years of the way they've approached the deadlines. Let's say they did this deal over the course of the All-Star break, or did a deal over the course of the All-Star break. It would send the Red Sox coming out of the break a really good message, and it would help them in one of the toughest 9-game stretches of the season. And maybe you go 5-4 because you add somebody who helps. Maybe you go 4-5 and you just don't sink because you go out and do something. That's exactly the way they need to approach it.
But Matt, there's also the logistical things that I know that people hate talking about. But if you were to go get Joe Ryan during the All-Star break, you make the trade for him. Then he can come to Boston, see what Boston's like, have his apartment picked out. Maybe he's got some family stuff he's got to figure out. But you can get all those things set up on Red Sox scheduled off days. And then you give him a little bit of peace of mind. He's not trying to find his keys and get from Worcester to Boston. Like, it's a small little detail that is a big deal to these players nowadays.
It matters. It totally matters. And I don't think Breslow understands that. Great point bringing up, Roman Anthony trying to find his key. No, Marcelo Meyer trying to find his keys. Yeah,
Mayer at the last minute is trying to find his keys. He gets to Boston. He takes an 0-for-3 and 0-for-4 in his major league debut.
Against a lefty who we know he can't hit, and they just throw him in there. And they knew, by the way, in the middle of a doubleheader, same thing with Roman Anthony. Anthony gets called up. He's boarding a bus to go to Lehigh. The Red Sox knew about it, and they waited until the last minute, and he has to drive to Fenway, and he's in the lineup 3 hours later. It's the human element that Breslow doesn't get. It's not the baseball side of things. I trust him to pick the right baseball player. I don't trust him to go about it the right way to get the most out of that baseball player, because baseball players are actually human beings too. Most of them, at least. Majority with the update.
a panel of experts.
Oh, I like this.
It's the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz on the Sports Hub.
I look at Jarren Duran and say, if Jarren Duran's an all-star game, they really should cancel the event. Okay, if that's what it's come to, if Jarren Duran is the guy that America's going to stop everything it's doing in the middle of summer to watch a baseball game, then we really should just pull the plug on the thing now.
Here's a high fly ball off of the bat of Jarren Duran. That one will leave the yard and give the American League its first lead of the night. Boy, this dream season for Jarren Duran continues here with a home run in the All-Star game.
Make it a skills competition, and that's the end of it. And I'm not telling you he blows. I'm just telling you he's not an all-star.
The Ted Williams MVP, Jarren Duran from the Red Sox.
He's not the kind of guy I look at and say, I'm going to win a championship with that guy in the middle of my lineup. And I know he bats leadoff. Okay, there's something about him that I still have trouble taking seriously. He's not really a prospect. He's sort of a 4A player. He's having a nice year.
You got the game-winning home run in an All-Star game. When you sit down on the plane to go home, what will you take in from this whole experience?
Probably hanging out with those guys in the clubhouse, man. There's so many good guys in that clubhouse. I mean, there's guys that are supposed to be our rivals in our division, but they're such awesome guys. It's going to be hard to play against them coming up because they're such good guys, and it's going to be super fun.
I think all-star, I think Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. I'm thinking about the very best of the best in the game.
Household names.
I'm not thinking of Brock Holt and Jarren Duran.
You know, now that I have the benefit of a year's worth of hindsight, I'm going to say I think Maz might have been wrong about Jarren Duran being a 4A player. I'm going to go out on a limb on that one. It's Matt McCarthy in for Maz tonight, where he can't defend himself on the Jarren Duran thing. But I do think it's interesting to look back on essentially this night 1 year ago, where Jarren Duran hits a home run, is the MVP of the All-Star game, and is having the best moment of his career in the best season of his career. And it goes to show, in some ways, how fleeting moments can be in baseball. Because Maz was right about something last year in his cancel the All-Star game take, which, by the way, I don't believe in anything. Like, oh, cancel the All-Star game. I have no problem. I like baseball. I'm going to watch baseball tonight. Baseball's fine. I'm not going to overrate the event. It's nothing truly special. It's not what it once was. It's not 1999. Okay, it's not 1979. It's not 1949. It's not 1941 and Ted Williams hitting a walk-off home run at Tiger Stadium. All right, it's not that. I get it. The All-Star game is a relic. It's a thing of a bygone era. I understand that. Just give me some baseball to watch and I'll be fine on a random Tuesday night where there's nothing else going on and I'm not going to complain about it. But it goes to show how players can have career years and players can have great moments, but the best players in baseball are the ones who do it consistently. And Jarren Duran has not been that guy. He hasn't been. Last year is by far an outlier for him in his close to 5-year big league career now. So what you saw from Duran was a moment in time. He is a good player. He is not a great player. And that should guide how you feel about Duran entering the trading deadline. He is not as good as Roman Anthony. Wilyer Abreu is a more valuable player to the Red Sox because he plays a good right field and he hits for power. And the Red Sox don't have enough power anywhere in the organization right now. The Red Sox have a lot of guys who can run. They're an athletic team. The Red Sox have a lot of guys who can run and can't field. And that's what Jarren Duran is. And when he's at his best, he is hitting home runs in the All-Star game. But he is not consistently at his best. Like most baseball players. Baseball is a sport where the absolute best players are the most consistent baseball players. The greatest trait a baseball player can have is consistency. And I look at the Red Sox All-Stars last year, and I look at the Red Sox All-Stars this year, and there's no comparison whatsoever. You know, Tanner Houck right now is in Worcester telling me that he's a starting pitcher when he has an 80 ERA and his minor league rehab assignments, and I'm using the term rehab very loosely because, let's be honest, he's not down there to rehab. He has a strained ERA, and they're trying to fix him, and they're trying to build him back up again. And he's telling me that he's a starting pitcher. You know what? He might be at his best, but he's not consistently that. And Tanner Houck has not been the same since last year in the All-Star game when Shohei Ohtani, who is that dude, took him deep. He hasn't been that guy. Look at the Red Sox All-Stars last year and look at the Red Sox All-Stars this year. There's no comparison. You had 3 All-Stars last year. Rafael Devers, who is a great hitter, but was not great in the final few months of the season because his shoulders were fat and he pulled his fat. And he was out of shape. Jarren Duran, who is batting .258 this year. .258 with a .749 OPS and cannot play left field. And Tanner Houck, who's in Worcester right now. Compared to this year, when you have Garrett Crochet, who's a bona fide Cy Young contender, Alex Bregman, perennial all-star winner type, has been there and done that, and Aroldis Chapman, who is having a bit of a resurgence, but has at times been among the best of the best in baseball at what he does. There's no comparison. None whatsoever. And when you look at this roster this year, that's why you say it's different. Tanner Houck isn't your ace anymore, folks. He's not. Jarren Duran isn't your best player anymore. That's a good thing. Both of those things are good. Red Sox have the same number of wins at the All-Star break as they did last year. 53 wins each. They've played 2 more games this year. They're 53 and 45 this year. They were 53 and 43 last year. So essentially the exact same record. So I understand why, as a Red Sox fan, you would ask why it's different. You'd say, McCarthy, why is it different? This team has done this. They have gone on good stretches before the All-Star break every single year. 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. Why am I going to believe it's different? Personnel. Just compare last year's personnel to this year's personnel. And not to mention, too, they have a GM who has something to prove. They have a team president who has something to prove. After trading Rafael Devers, they were interested in buying before the deadline. Before they went on this 10-game winning streak, and now they're interested in buying. Again, as they should be. And we're sitting here talking about real legitimate bona fide starters like Joe Ryan, who is an all-star in his own right. They're just in better shape. They're in better shape. The clubhouse culture maybe is improving a little bit. You get Devers out of there. I think undeniably that has helped them. And when it comes to Jarren Duran, I think moving on from him actually helps the clubhouse. And I think a lot of people have said, well, he's a leader. Okay, well, yeah, he's been a leader on a team that has had no leaders. And if you move Duran out only for something that helps you this year, and I got to stress that, only for something that helps you this year. If you trade Duran for prospects, I'm out on that. Because that doesn't help you in the present. That maybe helps you in the future, but you're trading Duran, who can help you in the present and in the future, not as much as you think he will, because, again, he's just not the all-star player that he was last year. That, to me, was an outlier in his career, and it's an outlier from who he ultimately is. He's a .269 career hitter with a .775 OPS. That's a fine, nice baseball player who can run like the wind. So that's an above-average baseball player. But you're telling me you wouldn't trade an above-average baseball player for a number 2 starter? If you can ultimately get that for him, it makes all the sense in the world. They're just in a different place this year compared to last year. Record's the same. Number of all-stars is the same. 3 all-stars last year, 3 all-stars this year. The context behind it, the eye test behind it, the feel behind it, make no mistake about it. It's different. It is different. Hey, MLB All-Star Game is tonight. I hope you enjoy it. If you're a baseball fan, don't overrate the thing. Don't say we need to get rid of it. It's fine. You enjoy yourself. You have a nice night of watching baseball. I hope we have a tie so we get to bring the nets out. I want to see Pops roll the nets out there, and I want to see Shohei Ohtani take Pops deep. We need that. Bring it on.
I also need the ABS system to fail at some point so we get a technology rant from somebody on the station tomorrow.
I don't need the ABS system to fail. I need it to work so we have it next year. I root for my sport. Jimmy, some people at the station may root for the content. I root for the betterment of the fans and the sport because I answer to a higher calling.
I think ABS is going to be part of MLB next year anyway. So, but for tonight, I need it to fail so that I can get a rant tomorrow.
Well, some of us have shows to fill in All-Star Week. It's one of the slowest times of the year. Meanwhile, I am on tomorrow night in for Joe Murray, and I don't need that because, again, I answer to a higher calling, and I just want the best for my sport and the fans out there. I want good for you. Not for the guy who hosts. No, for you, for the fans. Just keep that in mind. Thank God you have me. Jimmy Stewart, Kevin Majori, thanks as always for your hard work tonight. Joe Murray's coming your way next. Some people would say it's the cul-de-sac. I love the cul-de-sac. The Joe Murray Rotary, I would happily go around and around forever. I stand with Joe. I want to make that very clear. Joe's got you tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.